35. We're here to talk about chapters 329 through 338 of Bleach, which Lawrence has just read for the first time today. Lawrence, how are you?
Doing swell. Yeah, another 10 down.
Yeah, we're to recap where we last left off. We had the pillow battles as Aizen and his espadas invaded the fake Karakura town. The pillow battles didn't really matter. They're like the points in who wants to be whose line is it anyways,
Yeah,
inconsequential.
right.
At the very end of things, the captain started to face off against the espadas, and that is where we pick off first for today. So to start things off, we're going to talk about the poem for volume 38, Fear for Fight, featuring Hisagi. And the poem is, "The only true fear is to become a warrior that doesn't know fear."
The only true fear is to become a warrior that doesn't know fear. I mean, yeah, it works. As I said, another fine addition in the poem. Gauntlet.
Pretty fitting for Hisagi and
Yeah,
everything we got from him in his fight yesterday.
right.
So moving on, we have the breakdowns. Shunsui and Stark, Soifon and Berrigan subordinates, Matsumoto versus Harables subordinates, and Hitsugaya versus Harlow himself. So what did you think of the fights breaking out as they started? Because we just get a little bits and pieces before we kind of get into any one of them in particular.
Yeah, I mean, so if we went starting clockwise, I guess it would be Shinsui's fight. It was interesting that this spot that he's fighting has like a very similar temperament to him in terms of not really particularly enjoying the fight, and like kind of wishing that someone else could handle this. Yeah, take it easy. They seem to really thrive off of that coming from each other, and then obviously Yukitake is just chilling while in the Espada's second in command also was like sent away because they didn't want to fight like a prepubescent girl. So yeah, so that was interesting setup, of course. Then you have Soy Fun. You know, she was fighting. She's clearly she's trying to still like fill in the Yurichi's shoes, even though Yurichi's been gone for like 100 years or whatever. But she's out here to show her own way. Then you got the second in command in the second division fighting. He's trying to knock the rust off a little bit. Rengiku unfairly has to fight 3v1. Kind of a sucky card to draw there. And then last but not least, you have Hatsugaya. And I feel like you got the least really from him in these 10 chapters for sure. I don't really remember him much content there.
No, we definitely do see him the least out of everybody here.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of the fight with Matsumoto versus the trio? They, at first they're arguing over who gets to fight her first.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own little Three Stooges act.
Right.
And Matsumoto uses her Shikai, traps them in Hakuneko.
Mm-hmm.
And she finds that it's kind of a little bit useless because, unfortunately, they easily dispel her Shikai's ability with their respective Seros.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this little beginning of the fight? Because that's pretty much what happens before we shift to Omeda.
I mean, it kind of just seemed like you're per functionary, like you're just the usual kind of like start of the fight kind of thing where they have their like exchanging words, and then the person that you're kind of rooting for, the main person uses like their primary ability, and it's quickly like easily dealt with by the Sero, obviously, where the Arankar ability, and then they're kind of at like some sort of not really stalemate, but at a point where the hero of the story is kind of like, oh, I'm kind of in a little shitting up a creek right now, and hopefully there's further developments that will work in my favor. So that was pretty much like my thoughts on that.
Yeah, pretty accurate summation.
Mm-hmm.
So as mentioned, we then shift to Omeda's fight against his opponent, who his release is basically a mammoth.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of Omeda's fight here?
Is Omeda the second in the command for the
Hmm.
second division?
Yeah.
Omeda. Yeah, I mean, once again, kind of, I think very similar to the previous fight, except this one was a little bit different because I feel like you were going into this fight more underestimating him, and then he's kind of proving his worth by being able to like move with such agility, and
Hmm.
having like all these like unexpected abilities based on like the kind of shit he was getting from Soy Fun about like how he's like out of practice, and he's like taking all this trash talk from this guy, but then you know he he pretty much makes quick work of this dude, the mammoth guy. Like I think it's like he maybe 1.5 chapters worth of fight here.
Yeah, he reveals he was just kidding all along, and he sneaks up behind him as we see in this panel here. He then launches himself into the air and releases his Shikai, which is a ball, a mace, basically a mason chain,
Mm-hmm.
and knocks him out. He thinks he's won the fight, and starts fucking with the Arnkar here, who reveals that no, he's up again, and it looks like he's about to put some hurt on Omeda when Soifon comes crashing in.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of Soifon's fight?
Uh, yeah, her fight. I liked it towards the end. I mean, I felt like she was definitely just like playing like a little bit of cat and mouse game with the
With her
Iran
opponent?
car she was fighting. You know, like because like it'd be way too I just couldn't believe that she was just getting like knocked around. Like she's like the second division captain. Like she's like are probably like a top five like most powerful like Soul Reaper of like the official Soul Reapers, like probably in existence right now. I arguably like top five in terms of like her abilities. Like there's no way she's gonna get like knocked around by some like deputy Iran car. Like so I figured there must have been some sort of like twist going on with that, and it made sense that she's just trying to like gauge his abilities because before she fights in Espada, try to see if she can like if she's able to like fight a release the release of even like a deputy around car just to like compare it to like what she might face up against the real deal Holyfield Espada.
Yeah. Soifon makes quick work ultimately as well, and they both turn to face their real opponent, Berrigan. We then switch back to Matsumoto's fight, where Hinamori joins her. What did you think of Hinamori showing up here to join the fight?
um I was like I figured we probably get like an appearance from her because it'd be like if this is like another big confrontation with Aizen. I figured that that Kubo would want to give the moment of like of Hinamori like seeing Aizen again and having like the old wounds kind of open back up and all that. And and she's still not like despite how assertive and like confident she's trying to come across in terms of like she's disavowing Aizen and is now fully committed to ending his like evil ways. Like as Rengiku said, she still refers to him as Captain Aizen during her her like brief moment of shit talking. So I think there's still like some threads there that need to be cut before she's gonna fully able to let go. And then it was interesting to see how it cut the Aizen kind of reacting to her arrival, and but they didn't like say that like outright. That's what it was. But they were like saying like, "What are you reacting to?" It's like nothing, just like a minor
Mm-hmm.
insignificance. Like it's so he he doesn't even give one fuck. So yeah, it's interesting to see that how like going between the relationships, how Aizen has no value in the relationship at all, and she still somehow has like a little bit of a a spark there in terms of like how she feels about him.
Yeah, we have a moment with each of the three members of Aizen and himself included, and their vice lieutenants, and thinking about them entering the battlefield. And it's just sort of like the same beat every time of like, oh, look. Hmm.
What did Tosin say?
Actually, you're right. Tosin didn't say anything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Jen's was like more interesting. I mean, not interesting, more like there was more like heart to his response in terms of like I mean, it could also be like seen as him being like kind of like this like flippantly kind of like just saying, "Oh, I didn't expect him to react like this. Like, oh, I'm glad he's happy. Like, he's like
Glad he's
whatever.
doing well. Yeah.
I'm glad he's doing well." Like you could say that was like a flippant response, I guess too. But I feel like there was more of like he felt more of a connection with Eisen, who's just completely like she's just an insignificant like bug on the windshield that I'm kind of just
Mhm.
like gonna like put my wipers over. Like I give no fucks about.
Yeah. Well, Hinamori arrives and manages to put some pretty decent hurt on the trio of Espada here. They go into their release state, and then they rip off their arms, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we get to Shunsui and Stark. What did you think of Shunsui and Stark as they react to seeing the battle heat up from Hinamori's explosions?
You know, like they again very fitting to their like archetypes. They're kind of like we're watching all the battles like you know go get into their climax, and they're kind of like you know maybe we should start getting there too. You know, like this has been fun, but yeah, I
Stark
think they're huh.
Stark calls Shunsui out on being a dual wielder, but only using one
Yeah,
blade during the fight.
yeah, exactly. And you know they both kind of reflect on their like responsibilities as of being like one's an Espada and one is like a Captain Soul Reaper, so they do have
Mhm.
ultimately like responsibilities to uphold. So they kind of like mutually decide, yeah, it's about time that we finally start you know actually getting into some like real shit here.
Yeah, and Yukitake and Lillinette. Lillinette
Mhm.
is no match for Yukitake, and he's just kind of like swatting her attacks off.
Yeah, he's kind of like go home, play with your easy bake oven, and leave me be. Like like it's not worth killing you. Pretty much is what he's going for over there,
Hmm.
and yeah, so that's pretty much the state of those two fights.
So the arms have been ripped off, and they form to create a chimera, basically. What did you think of Ion and this entire encounter with him?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that like just like ripping off like three arms of the Rancor could like create such like an OP like like thing, whatever you want to call it, amalgamation or whatever, like a chimera, you know, it's you know, so because he makes pretty the creation like makes pretty quick work of like some
Yeah,
pretty high level Soul Reapers and
he
obviously
he one shots Matsumoto, taking a chunk out of her belly, which we get
damn
to
I
see a
was
nice
yeah
visual of in his palm, which is pretty startling.
yeah that shit was yeah when I saw like that shot of her like her like half of her stomach like just like abdomen just being like just fucking cleared out, I was like god
Mm.
damn. And then yeah, Hinamori tries to step in, and then she's stomped as well. And then Izuru and is it Yamachika is there too, or who is it?
No,
Izuru and
it's Zuru and Hisagi.
Isagi show up, and then you know Izuru, who was once in the fourth division, is left to try to like attempt to heal what he can of
Matsumoto and
Matsumoto
Hinamori.
and
And
Hinamori.
yeah, because Hinamori gets taken out with one punch.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
punch. Yeah, and then yeah, so Hizagi's fighting, and then that's really not going that well either. And then Yamamoto
No,
arrives, and
Iba shows up, remember,
oh yeah, I forgot Iba shows up too,
to try and save Hisagi at the last minute.
and
Thinks
he's
he's
kind of
getting
like
a
one shot.
yeah, he thinks he's getting a surprise attack, but you know, Aeon opens its eye in the back of its head and sees it coming.
Yeah, so he's one shot too, and then Yamamoto kind of scolds all of them, being like, "How dare y'all make me fight this fucking insignificant thing compared to you know relative?" Which like is kind of like shocking that just like a like three pieces of like mid level Arankars coming together are able to just like fucking destroy like four vice captains, you know. Like it's
Mm,
like damn. It's like I mean definitely not a good sign of things to come if that's like you know this is the level of ability that we're working with here.
yeah, not great. But what did you think of Yamamoto joining in?
I mean, it makes sense, you know. Like someone has to stop this being, and if everyone's kind of occupied right now, I mean, you can't just let you know this thing run roughshod and then like just destroy all your forces. You kind of got to step in at a certain point, you know, otherwise you're like losing. I, I mean, like as like disparaging and like kind of sad it is that they're kind of falling to like this chimera thing. They did also take out like a few deputy soul reapers. I mean, deputy like espadas. So you know they're still valuable forces. You know, you can't just like kind of, you know, just sacrifice them, especially when you're depleted with like 3 or 4 of your captains. You know, off in off on the hollow land or whatever you want to call it, and you know, especially in the 4th division captain, who's like the best healer of the bunch of them, isn't really there, or in the 12th division captain Kurtsuchi, who has the research element. So you're kind of like don't really have your like recovery ops or your research ops like on hand right now. So I think it makes sense that he'd value trying to you know, maintain the health of his crew as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. So Yamamoto lays waste to Ion, and that's where we end for the day. Any other thoughts you want to share?
You know, like I think you kind of preface that this would be like another like kind of slow one because we're still kind of like working our way into like the big bad espadas like fighting the captains, and this was like again like kind of like a little bit of a side story, but I think yeah, it feels like it's starting to ratchet up. You know, like it wasn't like bad per se. You know, just wasn't as interesting as some of the past chapters have been.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I warned you yesterday. Like, you know, don't get too excited for today. Like, the back end is cool, but you know,
Yeah.
what I can say is, do get excited for tomorrow.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Tomorrow is going to be action packed.
Exciting times. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. So we are going to be restreaming later on something else. We're going to be doing our first non-Animal Crossing or Bleach stream here. We're going to be the publication IndieWire over the weekend put out the 40 best fantasy movies of all time, and we're going to go through that list and react.
All right.
Yeah,
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you a little bit later. Bye.